apologize. Uh, well, the lights are on in my room right now, and it's very irregular. In fact, they're on the brightest setting, and it looks so weird. Because I never have the lights on anymore. I haven't had them on for years. All I do is just the blinds, and at this point I want to cover them. But that's besides the point. With this video, actually, I was able to get a topic off the ground. And I've been developing it for the past 2 days or so, maybe a little longer. I haven't really took the time to have an exact measurement on what it should be like. I mean, I don't even know what I was going to say. I'm retarded. Sorry, I was standing on a desk for a small amount of time. Well, I guess I'll read it out, but I'm not even reading it out. The topic for this video is going to be community and my thoughts on it, because it's just sort of interested me. I remember years in the past, like maybe 2 years ago, possibly 3, though I doubt it's that far. It's likely just 2 years ago, maybe 1. I saw this video by Dreg or J-Reg, and I guess it was sort of the basis, even though I haven't rewatched it in such a long time. Because he was talking about community and shrinking in the ether and stuff like that. I haven't seen it in a while, so it's sort of hard to deliberate on. But anyways, just thinking about community, my experiences with it, my thoughts on it. And to be honest, I never really had community as a child, nor now, even though I'm only 16, so there's still, I guess, time, but it just doesn't seem very appealing to me at all at this point. If I try to remember, the earliest sort of resemblance of community that I got would be at my church, possibly, but I don't really think so. Oh yeah, of course there's like schools. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about schools first, and then talk about the church. I'll just talk about the church. Anyways, I guess when I was like 5 years old, 4 years old, I'm almost like 6 or 7, I think that's probably when I stopped going to that specific church. But there was a church, and I liked it. I remember being in a little pen thing, watching VeggieTales, learning about God, just stuff like that, and I think there were other kids there and I could talk to them relatively fine. And there was this disabled man, and his eyes are pretty glossy. I liked him. I don't think I really talked with him, but I just liked the way he looked. He seemed like he was nice. In the church I got Garfield cart. I showed one kid it. He seemed like he was a teenager. He told me like how on Amazon he was selling baby bottles and stuff like that. And I showed him how I destroyed the Garfield cart cartridge because I just didn't like it. Because I was told that Garfield cart was bad, so I repeatedly struck it with a knife, and I just show him how damaged the cartridge is, and he's like, "You probably shouldn't do that." I'm like, okay. And I just continue to damage it later on until the cartridge is unusable, and I dissect the cartridge and I see its insides and things like that. Now, I guess I sort of got off topic, but I don't really remember much from the school. From the church. There was, a black woman, and I know that her distinguishing feature was that one of her toenails are gone. So I just look over there and I'd see that her toenail's gone. And I talked with her, and she was nice. So I guess I actually did like the people there somewhat. I never really had any quarrel with any of them. So that's like the one area where I actually had some community at church, and that's probably why it's why just one of the factors why I don't really view Christianity as particularly bad or anything. Perhaps. Like, I don't follow its doctrines. I guess I suppose I do follow some of them, just given that they're good to live by, I suppose. A couple of them. Yeah. Now, school. School is where I was thrust into a much more lasting community, quote unquote. I don't really know what happened in kindergarten or pre-K. I know there was something, and I talked to this black kid, and he showed me how to run and stuff, and it was really inspirational for me for some reason, and or stuff like that. But I know as a first grader, that's when I really started getting into trouble, I suppose, regarding my peers. And I'm really trying to recall, but there was some kid and he was being mean to me. And one recess, what I decide to do to that child is when he's on the play equipment trying to climb up, the little tower thing, I stomp on his fingers. And I felt so good doing that. Like, it just gave me this feeling of power, I suppose, just as such a young child. I really liked it. So I stomp on his fingers, and he now knows that he shouldn't have messed with me. Back then, because I remember I got sent to the office or something with him, and we argued and bickered. After that, I don't really know what happened to the kid. Also in first grade, possibly second grade, there was this kid, but I don't think it was second grade. It's likely a first grade thing. There was this girl that was silent, and I actually feel bad about this one, I suppose. She was being quiet. I guess I didn't like that. So what I did was, one recess, I just fucking punched her in the face. Then I ran off into the fringes of the playground, like a fugitive on the run, and eventually the recess monitors get me. And I still remember, after I punched her, how her face instantly turned into grief, the way it shifted, the tears. I still see it to this day, clear as ever, and I still feel a little bad about it. So sometimes I've seen a girl that looked like her, like older, a year or two ago. I had some urge to apologize, but I don't like talking in school at all, so I just didn't. Anyways, yeah, I think her name was Gabby. I still remember that. And I remember anyone's names. Nobody in the recent years in school, I guess besides Miller from my intermediate school. He's still here. He's still in my school, in my high school. We were on somewhat, I guess, compared to other people, we were on pretty friendly terms. Like, he helped me get on one of the play equipments during recess, that sort of relationship. Yeah. He's essentially the closest thing to a friend I've ever had, even though I never really talked to him at all. I haven't talked to him in years. And I did talk to him, it was pretty brief. Back then, even in intermediate school. More of an acquaintanceship. But anyways, shit, sorry, I banged my hairbrush against the back. I don't know what it's called, but that big wooden thing on my bed that's like on the back of the bed, on the front of the bed, like, where do you put your head? It's over there. Okay, what else? So, I just continue going through this community, and second grade I start developing an obsession with memes. Actually, I already developed that in first grade, but through that, so I start talking about MLG and shit. Eventually, that leads to me actually developing some sort of friendships, but not really. I then grew to despise these kids, the vast majority of them. One of them was only my friend, or supposed friend. He was never really even my friend at all. I guess for some sense of pity, or he was asked to do it. I don't understand. My grandmother told me one time, during the only birthday party I went for any of my classmates, because I was just given a basic invitation, was at this trampoline place, and I really liked it because it was fun, but I didn't really try to talk to my classmates or anything like that. I know there were teenagers there, and they were also in trampoline place, and I wanted to go in there, but I couldn't. They wouldn't let me. I was too little. It annoys me. I don't even think this trampoline place exists anymore. I've lost my chance to actually go to the good trampolines. But one of the students there told my grandmother that I was a bully of some sorts or something like that, and I don't exactly recall it. It's odd. I guess, yeah, I did punch that one girl, but in second grade I don't think I did that. Nor third or any grade over. So, yeah, I go through that, and I never made any real friends in second grade, nor any grade. So, years after, I got a tack, and I did it on a bulletin board, and I'd put the tack through their heads and school picture, and I scratched them out and shit like that, and about half or a quarter of the class had those tacks put in them. I remember one of their names, Yusuf. I didn't like that kid at all. He got tacked a lot. Now, what else do I have to... Community. I'm just left here trying to think about what to say about community. Third grade was sort of like second grade, though I liked it more. However, third grade was sort of a catalyst for me becoming completely mute because my teacher was somewhat mad at me for being a little bit of a troublemaker. And I surmise that the only way to end this troublemaking is to completely stop contact with other individuals inside of my school. So that is what I did, and it did work. However, it sort of came at the cost of lowering my already weakening humanity. Like, stuff like that, and I just more and more isolated, more and more isolated, more and more isolated. See, the third grade was fairly normal. And I sort of made a friend, but towards the end of the year it all just came apart, and he'd accuse me of eating bugs and shit like that. It never ended well. Fourth grade, that's when I come over, and that's after I have those strange mental things and I'm completely mute, and whenever people say my name I get so upset. I get so very upset, and some kid would say, I can't say my name here, but he'd say my name, Malvin. Yeah. So he'd say my name over and over and over and over again. It would make me so very upset. I guess this is the one year where I may have had bullies because I was just so weird compared to all of them. The shift occurred, and I was likely in their third grade classes as well, so they'd know me beforehand and see how I completely changed. So I'd say my name, and they'd say it over and over again. I wanted to kill that kid so much. And there was another kid, his name was Brock, and he'd stare me down and just look at me. And that would also make me upset, very upset. I didn't like being looked at that point. So what I did was, eventually one day I come up to his friend who also I didn't like, but I guess, I didn't like both of them at all. And I said I was going to punch Brock, I was going to do something with Brock. And they come up to me on the playground, and my friend tells Brock that, and nothing really occurred. Yeah, following that, I just didn't have any sort of community at school at all. In the beginning of 4th grade and continuing through it. 5th grade, I don't really remember anything. 6th grade, I don't really remember anything. 7th grade, I don't really remember anything. 8th grade, I don't really remember anything. But the one constant throughout all of these grades was that I was alone. And I still am alone. And 9th grade, I was alone, still. 10th grade, alone, still alone. And 10th grade is when they really started sort of seeing me as more of a threat. That's when they started accusing me of being a school shooter, and I'd hear them talk about it. Because I am the quiet kid, like a major quiet kid in school. So I guess it sort of makes sense, but I prefer them not to do it, but then again I don't really care because it keeps them away from me. And then, yeah, and now 11th grade, and I've sort of been accused of it as well, just not as much. And I still am completely alone. I've actually been more alone in this grade than I ever was before. Like, there'd be small little interactions with people, but now that's pretty much gone. None at all. And none of these interactions with people were actually facilitated by me myself. It was always the other person starting it. That's how it is at school. Now, the other community that I have experienced is, well, I guess to give some sort of background, my grandfather came from Iran after the revolution, and then he married a white woman. He had sex with that white woman, producing my father. My father looks really white. Then that woman died, so he marries another one. That woman is now essentially my grandmother. She is also white. And my father, he produced me for another white woman, so even though I have this Iranian thing, I look very, very white, even though Iranians themselves are essentially white, sort of, it depends on the region, so I look very, very white now, and as you can really tell, I'm Iranian. So yeah, after going to Iran, what was I going to say? Yes. Eventually, he finds this community of Iranians here and where we live. And by the time I come around and I live with them, I'm sort of forced to go to these parties with all the Iranians. And there are a couple kids there, sort of around my age, but not really. So I'm forced to convene with these children. And I just talk with them. And I don't get along with them that well. Years down the line, I eventually get... I find guns in their house with one of the kids. None of them were loaded, but I'd shoot at them. Because it was just air, so it would make a popping sound. In fact, it probably wasn't even a gun, it was probably some airsoft shit. But still, it looked a lot like it. And later, with one of the kids, what I did was I had two incidents. One was where I put like toothpaste on his bed or something, and I know there was one where I pissed on his bed purposefully, tried to ruin it as much as possible, like breaking into his room secretly and stuff like that, because I didn't like him that much. The first time I actually got away with it, the second time I didn't, and it led to a whole shit show, and I was mostly grounded for the summer. There was another time where I was grounded for the summer for something I didn't even do, because they assumed that I somehow sabotaged the chair that my grandmother, my great-grandmother, would be sitting in. My other great-grandmother, I have a couple of them. I have like three. Two are alive, one's dead. And is on the chair, and then she falls, the chair collapses or something, and they assume that I did it, even though I didn't. So that means, yeah, I've just basically left the whole summer with nothing, punished for stuff I didn't do. That's happened quite a bit. I'm punished for things I don't do, because they just assume I do things. They always assume I'm a massive liar by stuff I did when I was 6. they just apply things that I do when I'm 6 and young ages like that to how I am now in some sorts, and it really confuses me. So I just don't try to talk to them, as well as paranoia and a bunch of other factors as well. But yeah, so that would be another form of community that's also just practically washed on the fucking drain. Yeah, my family. And then, yes, with those Persian parties, eventually I was able to get out of most of them. So I rarely go to them now. Sometimes they're hosted at my house. That's a pain in the ass, but I just stay in my room the whole time. So I'm left free. Free forever. Eventually, once I get to another house, they're gonna sort of be my neighbors, but not really, because I'll live separately from my grandparents in that whole area, and yeah, I'm not gonna talk to them at all. But I guess it all just makes me think that community may be important, it may not be, but for a neurotypical individual, it really is. I never had community. I think it's made me quite strange. One of the factors. Well, I guess there's more that I kind of want to add to this, but I don't really know what I can add. A lot of energy, I suppose, maybe. So I'll just end this here. And I think I'll make another Chronicle soon of my view on relationships. Well, that's it. This is Odd Synthesis, signing out for Chronicle 17.